Thanks so much for the follows, everybody. Thanks. We're going to get started here with this video. Okay. So we have had a very big day already. I started up the stream thinking that we were getting a big leak right away. We saw the reward book and showing all 5 leaders. So we saw all of them right away. And then as soon as it was shown, I'm live. I'm talking about it like an idiot. And this gigantic video drops that's basically a dev stream without being live. They just wanted to record it in advance, but we did get a dev stream today. It basically happened. So here we go. Blood Totem is the first reveal, but I know that Northern Realms was completed yesterday, and I think scoia'tael was as well. This is Blood Totem. This is a 10 provision point artifact. On deploy, spawn a Blood fanatic on both sides of this card, and then on order, damage adjacent units by 2. So this creates 2 Blood fanatics, which are 4 strength cards that, on Berserk, transform into a 5 strength Bear Abomination with Doomed. I'm glad they showed this card after Blood Priest, because Blood Priest really is changing the game for Skellige. And I was already pretty hyped about just playing a Blood fanatic as an opening play, and then dropping the Blood Priest into it, starting the engine, dropping a Heme Protector on the other side, starting that engine, and then immediately proccing the Bear Abomination, which then gets all those points back that the Blood Priest was already stabbing away at. It just seemed like such a solid opener. So now you can do that opener, you can use your Fanatics, and then you could play this later or play this first. Who cares? You can drop your phone on the floor. You can do all these things. You can scare your dog for no reason. So I thought that was a really strong engine setup. But this, like I said, Waters of Broccolon, we saw in the gameplay video, making 2 engines right away. You know, they're not... The Fanatics aren't quite engines, but they're not engines. Basically, it's not a negligible amount of points, is what I'm trying to say. So this puts 8 points on the board, and also you can just trigger it next turn. So if you top deck this, okay, I'm getting 10 points for 10 points. But if you use this otherwise, you can make all sorts of other shit happen and always just kind of have that detonator like kaboom, berserk, Joanna proc, Heme Protector proc, you know, like, oh, fuck. I mean, like, the possibilities on this card are, they go from simple to I need to really try a whole bunch of shit to really be able to evaluate. But I'm just saying the floor on this card is so cool, and it's an artifact, and that matters for other reasons as well, you know? Chat's saying right now, this is a very well-designed artifact, someone you probably know. Toze13 saying, still some unrevealed cards left at the time of this recording. Milton Peyran, Human Knight for Nilfgaard. Long have we waited for this one. We wanted to know what Milton did. Is Paul Marin's... let me just, hold on a second, guys. Paul Marin. So we've seen Paul Marin. We saw this guy like years and years ago, days ago. But it feels like a long time because this card was really hard to evaluate. We weren't really ready to evaluate shields yet. There's like a ton of engines we haven't seen yet. Nilfgaard cards really didn't have any cards being shown yet. And I mean, I'm still not really sure what the best thing to protect in Nilfgaard is other than the Nausicaa. Like, maybe you're playing your Nausicaa Sergeant and your Ducal Guard and stuff like that, and you just want to make sure that they don't get pinged later. So, but I mean, even if you're doing that, you need to get them both on the board, and it's actually like counterintuitive because Portal gets in between them. Anyway, Paul Marin really counted on Milton being decent, so you could at least get, he can remove as well. He's still 7 points. He's still 7 points, and the value for the shield, it translates. It's like an intangible value. You don't really know if your opponent's ever going to break them or not. You don't know if your opponent's holding King Ragnar, and Nilfgaard doesn't have a card that cares about shield. So I think it's odd. Like, it's just... But you would always want to play Paul Marin first, I think, because of this. Or I guess it doesn't really matter. It's just there's probably a lot of situations where you're just going to get the ability to trigger anyway, whether he's in your hand or not, whether you kill something or not. So it's just, are the shields worth it to run Milton? And I'm not really sure, but there is stuff out there you want to protect. You know, you can't run Avalok all the time. Sometimes just getting a shield on something that you need to press order on is good. I don't know. Letho Kingslayer is a thing. You can make some pretty gross engines twice with Nilfgaard. You get 2 Yennefer Conjurers going, you drop Paul Marin in the middle. at least you get your game sped up. Your opponent will concede on you. So that's Palmerin. So now we finally see Milton at 8 provisions, 5 strength, just like his buddy. His deploy is damage an enemy unit by 1, only by 1, and then on death blow damage adjacent enemy units by 2. But if Palmerin is in your hand, trigger the death blow even if the enemy unit survived. So same hand death blow stipulation, but Milton's upside is 10 for 8. So I guess I just have a middling opinion. The best part about these cards is that I think witches are getting nerfed, and the mid-range of anybody's deck is up for grabs right now. And having 2 cards that care about each other is in a Nilfgaard deck where you have like a whole bunch of that. Like build like strong hand Nilfgaard, whether you want to believe it or not, is a legit archetype because you have Letho, Ox, Seret, this, Palmerin, and Emir, somebody who puts something back in your hand. And Decoy, which is a tactic that puts stuff back in your deck. And Asira, which puts stuff back in your deck so you can redraw it. Like, there's a lot of stuff. Like, hand stacking Nilfgaard it's just, I think we just need a little bit more experimentation. And Emir might need a buff. But I'm just thinking, like, Milton's probably not going to kill anything. And the best thing he can do is just do 10. Palmerin is probably going to protect something. But the best he can do is 7. So I feel like, again, when you compare it to Asira, these cards don't look great, and when you look at their powers combined, they don't seem as like Ox and Seret and Letho. They feel like really powerful together. And 10 isn't bad for 8. Like, people are playing Caldwell, so it's still 10 for 8, and that's great. That's the rhyme I say to myself every day. When you're reviewing a card, McBeard, it's 10 for 8. It's great. Next card. Dettlaff, Higher Vampire, 10 provision point, 5 strength, monster, legendary gold vampire with a death wish. Summon this unit from the graveyard to the same row. This unit's ability is limited to 3 uses and does not refresh when it leaves the battlefield. It's like they just found a way to code it, so it's like Morkvar coming back, but in the same turn as well. This all happens in the same turn. So you can K-Ran, all snacking on Dettlaff. And that's just thinking about a base set card. But we're also talking about stuff like Blood Moon. So this is a vampire that cares about Blood Moon, and when you kill it with Blood Moon, you get 5 turns of Blood Moon, plus you get Dettlaff back, and you could kill him again if you wanted to, if you just wanted an extra 5 points. This card is like between Blood Moon and this card and another card that would work with this card and a couple other cards that work with Blood Moon. There's your 2 win cons. Now, can we get a 3rd win con in there? I mean, the Ekamara looks pretty dope, right? Blood Moon seems super consistent. When we see Ekamara, Blood Moon's actual effect, we already see 2 units that we're fine killing for Blood Moon that are at a reasonable cost considering Blood Moon is also like 11 points. So, with a leader that can afford it, like if 11 is as high as you go, like that's fine, right? Like these are super strong win cons. These are like Glusty Warp levels of like strength. I don't know. I think that this card is just going to make Blood Moon good enough to play. And we don't even know what Dettlaff does. My predictions of this card are promising. I'll say promising. I think this card sees like tons of play. The only reason why this card doesn't see play is there's an easy way to banish it. But that means there's an easy way to damage it. And the thing is, you're playing this with Blood Moon, so this thing is like never going to be at 4 if you can help it, right? It's just never going to be at 4 if you can help it. And then maybe you play Ruin as well in this deck, right? It's a Death Wish card too. You can play other cards that care about Death Wish stuff. I mean, it just seems like Ruin's invalidation by Moondust is now justified by having like another better card. But it's different enough, right? It's different enough. This card's just good, right? This card's good for the card pool, good for the archetype. What do you say? Dettlaff is looking good. And we're going to see Dettlaff also in human form, obviously caring about vampires in some way. But how? How? Orianna, another vampire, another great gold for monsters. This card is the bleeding archetype and the Blood Moon archetype don't seem to, like every card that monsters get is a vampire. So we can't think that every card is a Blood Moon card just because every card is a vampire. I think that's where even I ventured down that path. There are equal parts like strong bleeding cards now and strong bleeding bronze core and strong Blood Moon bronze core in that there are great vampires. There's even a bronze that cares about Blood Moon and clearly 2 to 3 to 4 golds that care about Blood Moon proccing, plus every vampire cares about Blood Moon. So Blood Moon support is that there are already tons of vampires and tons of cards and tons of Death Wishes and really good ways to build win cons through that. K-Ran is probably a way to do it. You can go a Death Wish way, it looks like. You can go a Consume way, perhaps. Whispering Hillock with Ekamara. There's vampires all over the place. How do you clear that board? Maybe Dettlaff isn't even the best leader for all ways to use Blood Moon. There might be like an Erika's Queen variant that like really is down with like killing units and like killing the Ekamara over and over again and getting extra units and yenning, and I don't know, like it just seems all right. But this card reminds me that there is going to be a lot of support for bleeding that maybe just won't care about Blood Moon. But Blood Moon might just be good all over, might just be good in every monster's deck as well. Just like how there's a lot of, like how Queen Adalia is probably good in every Northern Realms deck. Orianna has a 9 provision point, 4 strength vampire. On deploy, give an enemy unit bleeding with a duration equal to the number of allied vampires. So the deploy happens no matter what. But if she's on the ranged row, every allied turn on turn end boosts self by the number of bleeding enemy units. So she's an engine that you can shut down with movement, but her deploy effect at least gives you payoff if you play her early. So like Austri said on the stream, you could play her early or late. Very creepy premium, just like one of the creepiest premiums. Milton can find easily death blow value. Yeah, I feel like the finding value for the cards, that wasn't my concern for the cards. I just feel like their value is low. Yeah, if Palmyra was 7, I think I probably wouldn't feel like that, but it's just how I feel. I feel like I don't want to stuff 2 8s in that slot to get that effect. But I think if I view Hillock, Dettlaff, and then Unseen Eldred, does he summon a copy from the graveyard? So you Hillock Dettlaff, and then Dettlaff is now on the board. And then Dettlaff comes out of the graveyard. What you're saying probably won't happen because Dettlaff will never actually be in the graveyard. But you will get 2 Dettlaffs, and that's like already, that might actually be good enough, guys. That might actually be the combo, but the only thing that's not clear is that when Dettlaff's third ability triggers, does he banish himself or does he just go to the graveyard with a somehow coded thing that just doesn't put him back out of the graveyard? And then if you play Elder on the other Dettlaff that still has the Death Wish charge active, if that's a charge-based situation, will it summon the card named Dettlaff Higher Vampire from your graveyard if he is in the graveyard with his expended charges? Which means, will you be able to proc him like a Harpy Egg? Furthermore, once Dettlaff is back onto the battlefield, is there any chance that he would proc again? My first thought is no, because he's probably coded to not do that. But he's also possibly coded to banish himself. So I think that he could be coded to banish himself, even though there's no indication that that is true. That is a great question. What do you guys think? What do you guys think in the chat? Let me know in the comments. That is a great, great question from someone you probably know here in my Twitch chat. Syanna. So Austri was very transparent about, if you remember what Austri said about on a previous stream, on the live stream, that there was a card that they had in the PTR that was very, very strong, that was very, very troubling, and because it allowed you to play like 8 cards at one side of your deck and all sorts of stuff. Like crazy, crazy, crazy card. That was that they could not price high enough. The card that he was talking about that seems to be the most dangerous. Ron of Doom, thanks so much for the sub. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it. Commandos. I really appreciate the sub. I'm glad you enjoyed my content, and you're going to be seeing a lot of it starting now. You're already part of it. Ron of Doom. Ron of Doom is already part of this video. I'm going to keep it in here. I'm not cutting this part out. Pumpkin already leaked everything about this card in PTR. But I mean, Austri said it, right? Austri said Vernon Roche plays 2 cards from your deck and then plays 2 cards from your deck. So if Syanna is given Zeal, say by a Temerian Drummer or Vess, and you somehow have the ability to play another card this turn, so this is very much like Stefan Skellen, but Kalanth can absolutely do that. Zeal Syanna, and then play Vernon Roche, and 4 cards will come out of your deck. Hey, what if all those cards are Cintron Royal Guards that you have spent the other rest of the game building? That could be the most hype, insane combo in the game. And the only thing that's going to keep that from being competitive, well, I mean, even if it's competitive, it has to be counterable. Gimpy counters it, right? So, I mean, okay. But I'm just saying that's like highlight material. But it doesn't have to be Cintron Royal Guards. It could be Kidweni Knights. Maybe you got a Blue Stripe Scout. Maybe you played Queen of Dahlia. You play all your copies like at super high tempo. Like what they gave Northern Realms the ability to play copy cards at the same tempo that Skellige could play discard cards. So you just build like all these bronzes that do so much huge work for you. And those cards are actually good in all 3 rounds, but you don't actually expend the resources because you can copy all these cards. You can get them from your graveyard back in your deck. So they give Northern Realms these sick bronzes. But this card comes with a Reddit post. This card comes with a Reddit post, my friends. So to Reddit, this comes with some Reddit, but also Slama is confirming what people were saying in the chat that the game looked different. Did they change the lights, improve the lights in game? It looks different. Yes, we did. This is the last thing he said. The reason why I was saying this came with a Reddit comment is because people were saying, I just read the comment. I don't understand what you mean. Oh, lighting fixes. Lighting fixes. Can I explain myself? I thought you guys said lightning fixes, meaning if there was a broken card, they would fix it really fast. That's what I thought you guys were saying. So I was trying to find a comment that was suggesting that they would fix something really fast if it was busted. You guys must have thought I was a fucking idiot. Oh my God. Sorry. I just didn't, the screen is just, I just didn't see the end. I just didn't see the end. Today in McBeard's fantasy world. Oh God. Like yesterday's fantasy world where I thought I could win a game with full test on the pro ladder. It doesn't change the fact that I think this card should be on the watch list because this card is still a really powerful ability. It walks the line that Skellen walks. And you can answer Skellen, you could probably answer this card. But her ability, I think this ability is very, very, very strong. And the consistency of getting this ability off and the deck that can make this card work the best, it's just going to have to look out. It's going to have to look out. Because if you can play 4 cards from your deck in a single turn, that's got to be really strong, right? Lady of the Lake. So I have 2 thoughts on this card. One, I like it because I think the card is priced very well for what it does. This is a unit that can give a shield that is going to demand specialized removal to stop this ability from going off. The other thing I want to say is that this card is most hard countered by the tech that stops shields in the first place. So it seems like her ability is to be a magnet for that tech, so your other shields get the payoff. Also, if your opponent doesn't tech for shields, you are more likely to get your shield payoff in the first place. In that respect, she seems actually extreme and hopefully does not have that binary feeling because she will have that binary swing because you lose the value. It's like you get a 3-for-1 potentially if this card is answered. But you can create, you don't create a 2-for-1 situation. You just kind of create the 2-for-1 situation that you always want your shields to have in the first place, with a higher level of consistency. But if you lose your Lady of the Lake, it hurts that much more. So we don't get a leader that gives shield, but we do get this card. So everybody gets a leader that gives shield. Not really, but you know what I mean? Everybody gets the chance to have a card that is very likely to give a shield. The other thing I'll say is that I think that this is a really important card to have in the neutral set. I hope you guys feel that lore-wise she is well represented because I think that lore-wise this card is done well. And I think that shield, I just think that if you have for any reason you feel like this is first of all, it's weird that it's not a scoia'tael card. I don't know why you would think that was weird, but I know because I don't know the lore. I don't know the lore of that. But a lot of people were suggesting that this could be a scoia'tael card or leader for a long time. So there's got to be a reason people think that. So the fact that she's a neutral card, maybe people have an issue with that. I'm just saying from what I've seen. So I hope that's not the case because she's taking your sword and she's giving you her favor. So she's giving you strength. No boost is applied, but defense is applied. And I think that the card art is amazing. And there's even like a little effect. It's really it's very shieldy looking. I think the art is great. I think she looks great. I think her ability is strong. I think that the card should be in the game design-wise. And I hope you guys think it's a cool card. All right, that's all the cards, though. That is all the cards that were shown. Now we have 3 leaders to talk about.